When I was 16, my church youth group went on a trip to this place called Camp Barnabas. It was a summer camp for kids with special needs. Kids who might have been in wheelchairs or whose muscles just didn't work the way they were supposed to. We actually still take high schoolers there most summers here at the gathering. But when I went there my first summer, I got partnered with this camper named Caleb. Caleb was awesome, but he'd never been away from home in his life. He'd never gone to camp, never done sleepaway, anything. And Caleb was unique. He had a disease called muscular dystrophy. And what that meant was his muscle fibers just slowly kind of eroded. His muscles became less and less strong as his life went on, and eventually it would end up killing him. One of the muscle groups that his body was really struggling with was his back. And so his doctors, to support his spine, had to put a metal rod down his spine into his hips. Imagine, like, you wake up on the wrong side of the bed, your back kind of hurts a little bit. No, this was like, his back was stuck. What it meant was that every couple of hours at night, he had to be rolled over because his back would get too stiff. There's a metal rod in it. Of course it did. But to do that, it took me and like 3 other people rotating him exactly the way he needed to get rotated so that his back wouldn't get bent because there was a metal rod in it. You couldn't bend that thing. That was a real problem. And camp went on for a week, and by about night 3, I was exhausted. Caleb was getting really homesick, and I was tired because I wasn't sleeping. I was 16 years old. I was not made for this. So I went and talked to my youth pastor, and I was like, Deech. Yeah, his name was Deech. I was like, Deech, I don't know if I can do this. In fact, I do know that I can't do this. I'm just 16. I'm too tired, too weak. And Deech just looked at me and he kind of smiled and said, Martin, I've got terrible news for you. You're right. You can't do this. And I was like, this is not the motivational speech I thought I was going to get here, Deech. I was hoping for something maybe a little bit more uplifting. He said, no, you can't. What you're about to find out for the rest of the week is what God can do through you when you're tired. When the end of you arrives, you're going to find out what God can do through you. When you reach your limits, you're going to find out how God can push you past those limits and work through you. And for the rest of the week, that's what I learned. I learned to stop and pray. God, I've got nothing left. I need you to fill me up. And we got to the end of the week somehow. And over the course of the week, what I learned over and over and over again is what God could do when I reached my limits. That's what Moses learned this whole month. We're talking about Moses, this guy who God said, I want you to go set my people free. The Israelites were slaves in Egypt. Moses had been a prince in Egypt, and he'd run away because he was an Israelite. And Moses sees this burning bush, which is funny because the story says it's not burning. It's on fire, but it's not burning. So I do not know why we call it the burning bush. It's like literally the one thing the bush wasn't doing. And he goes and he's like, I got to check this out. And he meets God at the bush. God, this voice, says, Moses, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go to Egypt and talk to Pharaoh, the king, and say, please set my people free. And Moses is like, I don't know he's going to go for that. I'm not a very good speaker. I'm just one guy. God, I am not the right person for this. He comes up with all these excuses for why he's not enough. And God says, you're right. You're not. But I am. Moses, I just want you to go. I will do the rest. Sometimes in life, you're going to jump up against things that you are not enough for. You're awesome and amazing and can do some really great things. Don't get me wrong, but eventually you're going to run up against your limits. Things that you're not prepared for, things that you can't control. And you're going to feel like you got to the end of your rope and you are tired and you don't have anything left. And that's where you're going to find out what God can do through you. Sometimes you are not enough. And we have a God who says, but I am. And let's show the world what I can do through you.